During a routine patrol, a canine dog suddenly froze, staring at a crumbling abandoned house. Officers thought it was nothing, until the dog refused to move. Everyone went silent. But within minutes, his instincts exposed a horrifying secret. What they discovered inside that abandoned home left the world stunned. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The wind howled across the empty field, carrying with it the eerie creak of rusted shutters. At the far end of the barren stretch stood a house that time had forgotten, its paint peeled away, windows broken, and silence pressing against its walls like a heavy secret. Most locals avoided the place. Whispers said it was cursed, that nothing good ever came from stepping inside. But for the officers on patrol that day, it was just another landmark on their route. Routine, predictable, until Rex froze. The German shepherd's sharp eyes locked on the house. His ears twitched, his body stiffened, and a low growl rumbled from his throat. The officers exchanged puzzled looks. To them, it was just an abandoned structure, nothing more. But Rex refused to move. His stare never wavered, as if he saw something no one else could, something hidden deep within those decaying walls. Rex's growl deepened, vibrating through the quiet air. His paws dug into the ground, refusing to take a single step away from the house. Every time his handler tugged at the leash, the German shepherd resisted, muscles coiled like a spring ready to snap. "Easy, boy," Mark muttered, but there was no calming him. Rex barked sharply, his voice echoing across the empty field, demanding attention. His gaze never drifted, never blinked, locked firmly on the darkened windows that stared back like hollow eyes. The other officers frowned, confusion written across their faces. Dogs didn't act this way without reason. Rex was trained to sniff out danger, explosives, drugs, even hidden suspects. But this was different. His intensity was unnerving. Passengers nearby paused to watch, murmuring nervously. The once quiet patrol had turned into something else, a moment heavy with unseen tension. Rex wasn't just alert. He was warning them. Mark tightened his grip on Rex's leash, glancing at the others. "He's locked onto something," he said firmly. But one officer shook her head. "It's probably just a raccoon. These old places attract strays." Her words sounded logical, but even she didn't sound convinced. The tallest officer stepped forward, his jaw set. "We can't ignore him. You've all seen how precise this dog is. He's never once given a false alert." His voice carried authority, but doubt lingered in the air. The group hesitated, the silence stretching. The house loomed before them like a challenge, its broken windows whispering secrets they couldn't yet hear. Finally, Mark exhaled and made the call. "We check it out. No half measures. If Rex says there's something inside, then we trust him. Everyone, gear up." The tension broke, replaced by resolve. The hunt had begun. The officers approached cautiously, their boots crunching against the brittle grass. The air felt colder here, as though the house itself exhaled a warning. Rex pulled harder on his leash, his body straining toward the door, every muscle trembling. With urgency, with a loud creak, the front door gave way under a firm push. The smell hit them instantly, damp wood, mildew, and something faintly metallic that made their stomachs twist. Dust swirled in the dim light, filtering through cracked windows, catching on their uniforms like ghostly fingerprints. The floorboards groaned under every step, threatening to collapse with their weight. Wallpaper peeled from the walls, revealing jagged scars of wood beneath. Still, Rex forged ahead, nose twitching, ears alert, dragging Mark deeper into the shadows. Each hallway grew darker, more suffocating, as though the house was swallowing them whole. Then Rex stopped abruptly, ears pricked, tail stiff. His gaze darted toward the far end of the hall. Something waited there. Mark raised his flashlight, the beam slicing through the shadows. At first, the hallway appeared empty, just dust, broken furniture, and silence. But then, something caught his eye. A small shoe, scuffed and worn, lay abandoned near the wall, too small to belong to an adult. Another officer crouched down, brushing dust from a faded teddy bear wedged between two floorboards. Its stitched smile was frayed, one button eye missing, but there was no mistaking what it was, a child's toy, left behind in a hurry. The atmosphere shifted instantly. No longer was this just a decaying house. It was a place where children had been. The walls whispered their presence, scribbles in crayon, faint marks too deliberate to ignore. Mark's chest tightened. Rex whined softly, his nose brushing the floor as he pulled them onward. Whatever had happened here, it wasn't over. Something darker still waited ahead. Rex's growl deepened as he padded toward the end of the hallway. His nose pressed low to the floor, tracing an invisible trail only he could sense. Then he stopped at a heavy wooden door, scratched and splintered with age. His claws raked against it, urgent and desperate. Mark exchanged a glance with the team. "He's found something," he whispered. The others shifted uneasily, the weight of the moment thick in the air. Behind the door, silence pressed hard, too deliberate, too unnatural. Then, faintly, came a sound. A whimper. Soft, fragile, and unmistakably human. One officer's hand trembled as he gripped the doorknob. Locked. Without hesitation, another swung a crowbar, splintering the frame with a sharp crack. The air that seeped out was heavy, stale, suffocating. And beneath it, they heard more. Tiny cries, muffled gasps. The realization struck like lightning. Children. Dozens of them. Trapped below. The basement door finally gave way with a thunderous crack, the old hinges shrieking in protest. A rush of damp, stale air escaped, wrapping around them like a warning. Rex lunged forward, barking furiously, pulling Mark down the narrow staircase. The beam of his flashlight trembled across the walls. Then came the sight that froze them all. Huddled in the far corner, pressed against the stone wall, were children, dozens of them. Their faces pale, eyes wide with fear, tiny bodies trembling as they shielded one another. 23 pairs of desperate eyes stared back, glimmering, with both terror and fragile hope. The officers' breaths caught in their throats. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then training snapped into place. "It's okay. You're safe now," one officer called, voice shaking with emotion. The children hesitated, then cries broke free, sobs of relief, of release. As the officers reached for them, the silence shattered into chaos, and the rescue began. One by one, the children were carried up the narrow staircase, their weak sobs echoing through the hollow house. The night air outside greeted them like freedom itself, and waiting officers wrapped each child in blankets with trembling hands. Parents who had rushed to the scene erupted into tears as they recognized familiar faces. Mothers clutched their children so tightly it seemed they would never let go again, while fathers broke down, overwhelmed with gratitude and disbelief. The air filled with cries, laughter, and the sound of lives being stitched back together. Through it all, Rex sat a short distance away, chest rising and falling steadily. His amber eyes watched the reunion with quiet intensity, as though he understood the weight of what had been saved. A child reached out timidly, brushing his fur, and Rex's tail thumped softly. In that moment, he was more than a dog. He was their guardian. News of the rescue spread like wildfire. By morning, the story was everywhere. Headlines, broadcasts, and whispered conversations in crowded cafes. 23 missing children found alive. An abandoned house unmasked. And at the heart of it all, a K9 who refused to look away. At the police station, Rex stood tall, a metal gleaming against his harness. Officers applauded, their eyes shining with respect, but Rex seemed unaffected by the fanfare. His gaze drifted toward the door, ears twitching, as though still listening for cries only he could hear. Mark knelt beside him, rubbing his fur gently. "You're the reason those kids get to go home tonight," he murmured. Rex leaned into the touch, tail wagging faintly. He didn't need recognition or medals. His reward was simpler, the safety of those he had fought to protect.